What is your advice to Donald Trump? Just to be himself, keep it calm, cool, focus, and to talk about issues that American people want to hear about.
Well, that was pretty straightforward advice for husband Donald, was it not, for the debate tomorrow night? Focus, stay calm, and stick to the issues. Let's bring in Andy Puzder, Trump economic advisor and CKE restaurant CEO. Before we get to Melania, I saw you on our competition. I think it was yesterday, CNBC. And a young man from the New York Times gave you a very hard time. When are you going to stop going on the competition to get beaten up by leftists?
Well, I'll tell you what, I actually had a lot of fun on that show with Andrew Sorkin. Right. He tried to go after me on these, the tabloid issues, the sexual, and I tried to focus him back, and it's a business show, so I tried to focus him back on economics, and man, he just didn't want to go. He did not want to talk about the economic issues, and it's because he's in the tank for Hillary, and on economics, he doesn't have any arguments. So, it was kind of a fun interview, actually. I have more fun here, though, Stuart, honestly.
Yeah, but let's be clear, they are losing the ratings battle to the Fox Business Network. Case geschlossen.
They absolutely are.
Germanic coming in there, why not? Okay, Andy, look, there's all this talk, there's two issues, and I think they're related, and I want to ask you about them. There's all this talk about a global debt crisis, because we've got $152 trillion worth of debt around the world. It's about tripled in a few years. That's a problem. The other one is the restaurant recession, which we've been talking about on the show this morning. Now, how would Donald Trump's economic plan, of which you are part, how would it fix either of those two problems?
Well, first of all, on the debt, and 20 trillion of that is ours, is the United States debt. There's only, as your earlier guest said, there's only two ways you can deal with that debt. One is to cut back, and I don't even think that's a viable alternative, because I think if you cut back, you're going to end up with more debt. The only way that you really can get out of that is economic growth. And economic growth, we're leading the world as far as growth, and ours is pathetic. It's 1% so far this year. You can't reduce debt, you can't employ people, you can't create jobs, you can't create paths to the middle class, you can't increase wages unless you have economic growth. And President Obama's economic plan did not lead to economic growth. Hillary Clinton's would be worse on taxes, on energy, on regulation, on trade. She'd drive us further into the hole. Donald Trump has a great economic plan with respect to taxes, energy, regulation, and trade. So, the choice here is economic growth or continued debt and no economic growth.
Now, the other side of the coin is this restaurant recession. Zane Tankel, who runs, I think it's 40-odd Applebee's, he says that it's Obamacare that's really hurting across the board in the restaurant industry. What would Trump do about Obamacare and its burden on our businesses?
Well, I think your earlier guest was right, except I think there are three things that are hurting the restaurant industry. Number one is competition with grocery stores, and if people are eating at home more, they're going to be eating at restaurants less, despite what he said about them having more money. Second would be Obamacare, and the research is very clear that you're about 30% more likely to not eat at a quick service restaurant if your health insurance costs have gone up significantly. And Donald Trump would repeal and replace Obamacare. But the third thing, again, this restaurant recession is happening over the past year, and GDP growth has been about 1%. Without the economy growing, even if people have lower gas prices and have more money because commodity costs are down and there are more people employed, although not as a percentage, but more people that actually have jobs, you should be seeing growth in the restaurant industry. You don't see it because there's no economic growth. We need an economic plan that will drive growth, that will take this country back to the position that it used to be in when it was the land of opportunity, and that is Donald Trump's plan.
No, Andy, you take a lot of flack for being a Trump guy and the CEO of a major corporation, but we thank you for being on the show this morning.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Don't go back to the dark side, okay? It's very simple. Stop
I'll see what I can do.
Yeah, I'll see what you do. Right.